Chapter 62. Anna. I want to look at her to see if her trembling hand means she's as scared as I am, but I can't take my eyes off the gun. I wrap my arms around Ella as though they could stop a bullet, and I wonder if this is it, if these are the last few seconds I will spend with my daughter. I wish now I banged on the car doors, shouted to the woman in the Fiat 500, trying to kick out the glass, something, anything. What kind of mother doesn't even try to save her baby? Years ago, when I was walking back from a friend's house, someone tried to pull me into a car. I fought like an animal. I fought so hard I made him swear. You fucking bitch, he said before he drove off. I didn't even have to think about it. I just fought. Why aren't I fighting now? She jerks the barrel of the gun towards the corner of the car park. Once, twice, I move. It isn't just the gun. It's because of who she is, because of how I've programmed to be with her. Like a best friend who suddenly turns on you, or a lover who throws an unexpected punch. I can't reconcile what's happened now with the person I thought I knew. It's easy to fight a stranger. It's easier to hate a stranger than your own flesh and blood. From outside, I hear a noise like a distant machine gun drumming on the sky. Fireworks. It's still an hour till midnight. Someone celebrating early. The car park is deserted, or the residents either out for the night or settled at home. The lift opens onto a carpeted landing. Mark's flat is at the end of the corridor, and as we walk past his immediate neighbour, there are boisterous screaming. Chant music blares from inside the apartment. If the door is on the latch for people to come and go from the party, I could open the door and be inside in a safety in numbers. I'm not aware that I've checked my pace. That's my entire body is gearing up for final attempt to save my life, to save Ella's life. But I must have done because there's a hard jab against my spine, and I don't need to be told that she's holding the gun to my back. I keep walking. Mark's apartment is a far cry from the way I remember it. The leather sofa is scratched and torn, the stuffing exploding from a rip in one arm, and there's cigarette burns all over the wooden floor. The kitchen has been cleared out of garbage left by the previous tenants, but the smell has been slower to leave. It catches the back of my throat. There are two armchairs facing the sofa. Both are filthy. One is covered in what could be paint. The soft woolen throws Mark used to keep folding over the back of each one are scrunched into a heap on the other. We stand in the center room, wait for her to give me instruction, to say something, anything, but she just stands there. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't have a clue what she's going to do with us. Now she has us here. Somehow I find that more frightening than knowing that this is all part of a grand plan. Anything could happen. She could do anything. Give me the baby. The gun is in both hands now, clasping together no parody or prayer. I shake my head. No. I hold Ella so tight she lets out a cry. You're not having her. Give her to me. She's hysterical. I want to think someone will hear her, knock on the door and ask if everything's okay. But next door's party is throbbing through the walls, and I think even if I scream, no one would come. Put her on the chair, then get over to the other side of the room. If she shoots me, Ella will have no one to save her from this situation. I have to stay alive. Slowly I move towards one of the armchairs and lower Ella onto the pile of soft throws. She blinks at me and I make myself smile even though it hurts so much to let her go. Now move. Another jerk of the gun. I comply, never taking my eyes off Ella as my mother picks her up and cradles her against her chest. She makes swishing noises, bouncing up and down on the balls of her feet. She could be any devoted grandmother, were it not for the gun dangling from one hand. You killed Dad. I can't believe it. She looks at me as though she's forgotten I was there. She walks from one side of the room to the other, back and forth, but whether it's to soothe Ella or herself, it wasn't clear. It was an accident. He fell against the kitchen counter. I cover my mouth with my hands, stifle the cry that builds at the thought of Dad lying on the kitchen floor. Was he drunk? It changes nothing, but I'm searching for reasons, trying to understand how my baby and I came to be imprisoned in this flat. Drunk? Mum looks momentarily confused. Then she turns away and I can't see her face. When she speaks, she's trying not to cry. No, he wasn't drunk. I was. She turns back around. I've changed now. I'm not the person I was back then. That person died just like you all thought she died. I had a chance to start again, not to make the mistakes I made before, not to hurt anyone. This is what you call not hurting anyone? This was a mistake. An accident, a mistake. My head is spinning with the lies she's told. And if this is the truth, then I'm not sure I want to hear it. Let us go. I can't do that. You can, Mum. You said yourself this has all been a big mistake. Give me Ella. Put down the gun and let us go. I don't care what you do after that. Just let us go. Then put me in prison. I don't answer. It was an accident. I lashed out, lost my temper. I didn't mean to hit him. He slipped and Tears trace the outline of her face and drop into her jumper. She looks wretched, and despite myself, despite everything she's done, I feel myself weakening. I believe her when she says it was never meant to be like this. Who would want this to happen? So tell the police that. Be honest. That's all you can do. I keep my voice calm, but at the mention of the police, her eyes widen in alarm, and she resumes her pacing even faster and more frantic than before. She pulls open the sliding door to the balcony, and gusts of icy air brushes in. There are cheers from somewhere on the street, 7 floors below us, and music competing from every direction. My heart pounds, my hands suddenly clammy and hot despite the open air. Mum, come back inside. She walks into the balcony. Mum, give me Ella. Trying to keep my voice calm. The outside space is small, designed more for cigarettes than for barbecues, protected by our toughened glass surround. My mother crosses the balcony. She looks down, and I don't even know what I cry out, only that it leaves my mouth and makes no impact because Mum's staring down at the street with horror on her face. Ella's tight in her arms, but so close to the edge, so close. Give Ella to me, Mum. I move slowly, one step at a time. Grandmother's footsteps. You don't want to hurt her. She's just a baby. She turns around. Her voice is so faint it's a struggle to hear her against the noise of the city below us. I don't know what to do. Gently I take Ella from her, resisting the urge to snatch her and run, to barricade myself in another room. Mum doesn't resist, and I hold my breath as I reach out one hand. She must know this has to stop. Now give me the gun. It's as if I break a spell. Her eyes snap to mine, as though she just remembered I'm there. Her grip tightens and she pulls away, but my hand is already around her wrist, and although I'm seized by terror, I can't let it go. I push her arm away from me, away from us, towards the night sky, but she's trying to turn back towards the apartment, and we're both using every ounce of strength we have. We tussle like children over a toy, neither letting go, neither brave enough to do more in case it doesn't sound like a gun. It sounds like a bomb, like a building collapsing, like an explosion. The glass surround shatters and echo to the gunshot, to the fizz of fireworks overhead. I let go first, step back from the edge of the balcony, where there's nothing now between safety and the night sky. My ears are ringing like I'm in a bell tower, and above the ring, Ella is screaming, and I know it must hurt her because it's hurting me too. My mother and I stare at each other, eyes wide in mutual terror at what just happened. What could have happened? She looks at the gun in her hand, holding it flat in her palm, as though she doesn't want to touch it. I don't know what to do, she whispers. Put down the gun. She walks inside, puts the gun on the coffee table, and paces the flat. She's muttering something, her face twisted, and her hands on her head, her fingers grabbing at her hair. I look down from the balcony, Ella held safely away from the edge. Where are the people? Where are the police cars, the ambulance, the crowds running to see where the gunshot came from? There is nothing. No one looking up. No one running. Revelers on their way from one bar to another. A man in an overcoat, talking on the phone. He walks around the shattered piece of glass. Drunks, litter, broken glass. Just another unwanted consequence of New Year's Eve. I shout, help! We are on the 7th floor. The air is filled with snatches of music as doors open and close. A continuous thump of bass from somewhere a few streets away. Fireworks from partygoers too impatient to wait for midnight. Up here! There's a couple on the pavement below. I glance back at my mother, then lean over as far as I dare and shout again. She looks up. He does too. He raises one arm, what looks like a full pint glass in his hand, and the tiny cheer that drifts up to tell me my shouting is pointless. I'm about to turn away when I see it. Parked on the street, oblivious to the double yellows, is a black Mitsubishi Shogun. Chapter 63. Murray and D.S. Kennedy had decamped to the kitchen of Oak View, where an unofficial incident room had been established to check the voters' register for Mark Hemmings. James was standing by, issuing action to young Pete Desu, who was furiously scribbling them down, ready to relay them to control room. His phone rang and he took the call, listening intently, then covering the microphone as he updated the detective sergeant. Anna Johnson's car pinged automatic number plate recognition cameras twice, leaving Eastbourne. There are several cameras on the A27, but they didn't trigger any of them. Murray's heart sank. But Caroline's taken Anna and the baby somewhere else entirely. The DC was still talking. They picked up the car again in London. The last ping was just 10:30 on the South Circular. James looked at Murray. Anything from Hemming's phone? Still ringing out. I'll keep trying. I've asked for cell site on Anna's phone. Murray pressed redial. Nothing. He had already left a message, but if Mark had switched his phone to silent for the drive, it could be another hour before he responds. In the meantime, who knew what Caroline had planned? Sarge, there are tons of Mark Hemmings on voters. Do we have a middle name? While James rooted through the pile of posts abandoned on the kitchen table in hope of finding at least an initial, Murray brought up Google. It was, he thought, the online equivalent of good old-fashioned policing, the sort that didn't rely on police intelligence system or database or data protection waivers. It was the equivalent of knocking on doors asking real people what they knew. He searched for Mark Hemmings' Putney and got too many hits to be useful. He closed his eyes for a moment, remembering what he knew about Anna's partner, that he allowed himself a slow smile. Mark Hemmings hadn't only lived in a flat in Putney, he had worked there. Flat 702 Putney Bridge Tower. SW152JX. Murray spun the phone around the table to James. The listing of accredited accounts opening at Mark Hemmings. Nicely played. Murray listed as James passed the address to control room. As soon as the call was finished, success would pass the information to the Metropolis police, who were into action. The CAD room dispatch officers left, right, and centre. Silent approach, all officers to hold at the RV point. Firearm officers waiting for threat assessments authorization. An ambulance en route. Negotiators on standby. Scores of people, all working towards the same aim. All hope to get there in time. That's that, then, James said. He put down his mobile. I hate these cross-border jobs. We do the legwork and let Paul get the dollar collar. He gave a rueful shrug. Frustrating, you know. Murray knew. Only he realized that right now he didn't feel frustrated. He didn't want to be there for the collar, for the body count, for the tea and medals. He wanted to go home. He cared what happened to Anna and Ella, of course. He did, but he had finally understood what he should have realized a long time ago. Crimes weren't solved by a single detective. They were solved by a team. Murray had been a good detective, but he wasn't indispensable. No one was. Murray, James was hesitant. It was my team who dealt with the Johnson suicide originally. It was me who signed off the coroner's files. We all miss things, James. Caroline did a proper job. It was practically watertight. Caroline. Murray's brain wouldn't switch off. How had Caroline got Tom's body into the septic tank on her own? I was newly promoted, wanted to get stuck into GBH sexual assaults, real crimes. I was too quick to get things off my desk. Murray remembered his own early days on CID. He remembered the buzz when a good old job came in, the collective groans, when stretched resources were tied up with investigations going nowhere. If he'd been in James's shoe, who was to say he wouldn't have done the same thing? He let the younger man off the hook, the light touch on his arm. His mind still on Caroline. It doesn't get much more real than this. Who had helped Caroline dispose of the body? I'm going to take the team back to the office. You're welcome to join us. Wait for an update. Thanks, but I'm going to head home. See you in the new year with Sarah. Murray looked out into the garden where the tent had been sipped closed and a uniformed officer stood sentry. A thick black scarf wound around his neck. Don't blame you. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from the Met. They stood up on the wall next to Murray. Was a corkboard, and he looked idly at its contents as he waited for James to gather his paperwork. A pregnancy scan had pride of place in the centre. A wristband from some festival or other dangled from a pin on the frame. A relic from Anna's life before the baby. There was a wedding invitation, evening reception only, and thank you note from Bryony from the lovely flowers, filled two vases, and at the bottom on the right-hand side was a flyer. That was it, the final piece of the puzzle. It wasn't euphoria Murray felt, just relief that his previously sharp memory hadn't failed him. He had finally remembered what he had seen on Dan Brent's notice board. And more importantly, he knew exactly what it meant. One last thing, he said to James as the two men walked towards their respective cars. He wondered, as he said it, if he might subconsciously want to hang on to the information, to check it out himself and claim the credit when everything fell into place. But he found that he didn't. In fact, he was glad to let it go. Yes, I know who helped Caroline Johnson get rid of the body.